Welcome to the Keelhauled Podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week we have none other than the community episode for June 2021. We have a great cast of characters joining us today to talk all about the Pirates Life Sea of Thieves update. We're going to be covering Tall Tale 1, our feelings on how this partnership between Disney and Rare is going, where we think it will go, and some spoilers at the end because there's just something that I have to get off my chest before I get a chance to talk about it with anyone else. And this was a great episode. Really hope that you guys enjoy it. Let's get into the patron callouts. All right, so this week I want to thank Bentley Beaver, Chateau Neuf, Chris Horn, and Cosmic Johnson, all for manning the portside cannons. Next, we've got El Jefe Esteban, Trickster, Jabaro 5, and Kazia the Rogue, all on the starboard cannons. Up in the crow's nest, we have Lumpy SRQ, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, and Xbox Mike 29. Then, Papa Fuzz and Regis Stella are rowing in a docked rowboat on the back of the boat. That's strange. Rust Belt Kid, T, and Professor are out checking some barrels and making sure that those are squared away. Then we've got Big Bad Pad and Mina Fairy off the ship, actually to get a message in a bottle and killing some skeletons. Then we have Super Pack and Davram TV checking out some riddles on an island nearby. Fergatron, Straw Hat Connor, Tech Deku, Windsor Chris, and Zam Wow. They are all at the helm and bucketing water. Thank you all so much for your continued support. I really hope that we manage to get whatever it is the heck we're supposed to be getting on this voyage done so that we don't have to continue doing such strange and bizarre things. But let's get into the actual community episode where we had all of these fine folks joining in, if possible, to sit down and talk about some of the different things that are coming with the game and this update. I can't wait for you to hear it. Enjoy.
Hear me?
Yeah, we could hear you, Dub.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Hey, Dub.
Yeah, it's all right. We all.
Thanks for letting me know, by the way, too, because I can always edit the rolls manually.
Yeah, it was weird because it happened a couple of weeks ago, and I've been busy, so I hadn't been paying too close attention. And I looked today, and I was like, ooh, you know what? I bet my credit card expired and messed that up. Because it still showed me, like when I go to Patreon, it still says I was a Patreon, but yeah, whatever.
All good. I appreciate you letting me know.
There's Patty.
Is that a Patty?
Hey, Pad. Hey, Pad.
All right, that's Chia. That doesn't work. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This week, or this month, we've got our community Gold Hoarder episodes. If anyone has any questions, concerns, comments about how to become a patron so that they can join in on these end of the month episodes, just let me know. You can always head over to patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast to join up, so you two can share. This month is kind of nuts because this is the first episode that we're going to have post launch for the Pirates Life update with Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean crossover with Sea of Thieves. And while we're not going to get into spoilers till the very, very end, we do want to talk a lot about what I imagine are some of the thoughts from the community as far as like crossovers, general feelings on the update, and just kind of gloat a little bit about some things at the very end. So this week I have Dub Goose, El Jefe Esteban, Mina Fairy, Regis Stella, T and Professor, and Big Bad Pad joining me. How are you all doing?
Doing great.
Good.
We're doing fine, Logan.
Awesome. And I'm very curious if someone wants to jump in and kind of give some thoughts, like where do you guys want to start off? I'm very curious, like who wants to jump in and who's the most excited to talk about this update?
So I had mixed feelings going into the whole Disney thing because I mean let's all be honest. Disney pretty much rules the world, right? I mean, they've got their fingers in all kind of stuff. So my fear was that they were going to come in and take over to the point that it was going to diminish the lore and stuff that we have been, working our way through for 3 years now. And so I was a little apprehensive going in, but now that I'm on the other side of doing everything, they were able to strike an amazing balance, I think, to where it it all fit, and nothing was diminished. If anything, I think the Sea of Thieves lore was pushed forward, and it's just massive kudos to both Rare and the Disney team for working together and creating a product that I think is really fantastic.
Yeah, all 100% there. I guess let me kind of lay down the kind of groundwork, I guess, for this. For those that may not know, maybe this is your first episode, you may not know, Disney has worked with Rare to get the IP of Pirates of the Caribbean into Sea of Thieves. This is something that, like Hefe said so well, we're not sure how it was going to work out. I agree 100%. I do think that they've done a really good job making sure that both lore both lore aspects for the IPs were respected well. Let's kind of start off with the general consensus. Do we think that Rare pulled off Pirates of the Caribbean well enough in the game? Like, do the characters feel like they are represented well enough? Let's start off with Dub and we'll kind of work down the list.
Yes, I think so. I've only played the first one. I've been really, really busy with real life stuff, so I haven't been able to play very much the last week or two. But I played through the first one I 100%ed the first Tall Tale, and I think it's cool. I think it's good. I'm kind of like Hefe. When I watched that first trailer, I kind of groaned a little bit because I was like, ugh. Disney. Not that I have anything against Disney, but so far so good. I'm gonna excuse myself early because I've got company, but and I don't want to get spoiled because I've done the first one and I've just scratched the surface of the second one. But so that's my thought on it so far. And one thing I have noticed too, it does seem like the new enemy types kind of seems like there's way too many of them around. But once again, I haven't played that much, but I sailed past an island earlier today, just sort of messing around for a few minutes, and there were 3 of the electric whip dudes and a crab guy chasing after my boat as I was driving by. Oh, yikes.
Oh my god. Yeah, I've seen a few out there for sure. Hefe, how do you feel about Disney giving their IP to Rare? Has Rare done justice to Pirates of the Caribbean?
I think they have, and one of the just small things that I've noticed and I paid attention to is just like the movements of some of the characters, especially like with Jack, and just the way you can definitely tell that they took great care in watching his body movements from the movies, or even like the body double that Rare was able to get access to at the studio. They did a tremendous job with capturing just some of those iconic just hand motions and body gestures and those kind of things. I think they did really, really well in that aspect. So I think they realized what they had the opportunity to do, and I think that they took great care to make sure that they did it well in representing the Pirates IP. So I think overall, yes, fantastic job.
Awesome. Mina, do you think Jack is pretty enough in the game?
I think they did an awesome job bringing those characters in. I wasn't sure when I heard about what was coming. I wasn't sure how that was all going to mesh with the Sea of Thieves world and lore, and I have to say they've done an amazing job bringing it all together and incorporating it in a good way with the lore that we have and adding to it. I think it's awesome.
Awesome. And Regis, do you think Jack Sparrow was pretty enough?
Yes, his movements are perfect. He sounds just like the original actor himself. And when I first saw the reaction, which was like roughly 3 a.m. my time, 2 weeks ago, I was so close on nearly screaming in the middle of the night when I saw the reaction. Like, you won't understand how, like, it was like a little past 3 a.m. in the morning. Tried my hardest not to, like, freak out of the whole thing. And, yeah, he's done so well, like, very, very faithful.
Awesome. Professor, how did you feel about the IP? Is it done right? Is it giving, do you think do you think Pirates of the Caribbean is getting a better reputation because of this?
Absolutely. So I was the rare optimist about this whole thing when news broke. I was excited about it. I thought, man, this is a perfect match. I really feel like I could trust Rare. They had a strong concept and story. Quite honestly, it was the right time, I felt, for Pirates of the Caribbean to be matched up. It was a waning franchise. I think what you'd talked about in an earlier podcast was right on. Matter of fact, I would almost give the edge to Sea of Thieves having a little bit stronger balance and leverage. I think Sea of Thieves matched well. I think Pirates of the Caribbean needed it more than Sea of Thieves needed. So I thought it was a good match. And they have done an excellent job of tying the story in and kind of matching the lore of both places. And I think really they didn't necessarily tie up all of the storylines that we keep talking about, but they went a major length in getting us closer on so many. And I think we know now why we were breaking statues so long ago.
Yeah. It's oh man, I'm so I can't even get into it right now. I'll spoil stuff.
That's a long way to wait, you know.
Oh yeah, it really has been. And I'm glad too. I'm glad because I have some theories that I'm going to bring up when I start diving into spoilers, because I've been having so many questions about what's been going on, and I've been going back through the Tall Tales again for a second time, and as I'm playing through it, everything that gets talked about throughout the quest, because each of these I found has a fair amount of dialogue added to it, which is surprising considering, you know, most of the time you do a tall tale and you just go out and you do it after you've talked to the person that's actually giving you the tall tale. You're generally given a book and you just have to go figure it out on your own. This one had a ton of voiceover done for it, and going through and listening to those voiceovers and thinking about what they're saying in the context that it's in and what it means for the game. I've started kind of taking each tall tale and writing out big notes with big questions about lore aspects and stuff. So I can't wait to dive into that. Pad, I'm curious. I just blanked out. I got so distracted. You got me on the mermaid thing, and now I forgot what my question for Pad was. But essentially, I just want to get your thoughts. Sea of Thieves, Pirates of the Caribbean. Was this the right mix? Did they do right by both IPs for you?
My initial response, like most people's, was, "Oh yeah, it's about time." After sitting back and thinking about it, I did have some reservations about how the two were tied together, and I still do to a certain extent. I have done all 5. I haven't 100%ed them, but have gone through the story and yes, I am impressed with what they've done. I won't say a bad word about it because I shouldn't really be able to. It's just me nitpicking little bits that once I've done them 2 or 3 times, I'm looking at it going, well, that really didn't need to be there. But that's me, again, nitpicking. But overall, awesome job. I'm happy with it.
Awesome.
Is it just me, or does I get a little tired with the hand wringing? It's like every time Rare does something, it's like, well, they could fail, or this could be the biggest disaster ever. It's like, has Rare not done well for us with Sea of Thieves? I mean, we're talking about a track record of years now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It really is kind of why whenever something like we've had this update has been probably one of the more buggy ones that we've had dropped. But at the same time, looking at how much they've built over the course of the last couple of years when they started working on this, I can kind of understand, like they've tried really hard to keep this secret. They won't be able to just let anyone jump in and start playing the game. And there was some conversation that was going on at one point about how some of this could have been tested. And I 100% agree that there are aspects of the Tall Tales that could have been tested. But I do think that there was something that was special about having all of this kind of pop up as a big E3 surprise. I think it really did what I think a lot of us had been hoping for is that big spark of excitement whenever, you know, like Tall Tales dropped and everyone was just like, what? This is what we're getting. This is what Tall Tales is. This is amazing. False Nails has come through. They've done themselves right. And this was kind of the second coming for that. And I think a lot of outlets for media are sitting up and taking notice because of this. And I think that
it was government agency secrecy. There was not a peep anywhere. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to get my hands on the NDA and read it, because I just feel like there was lines in there that said if you utter a word, you will be fired on the spot, no questions asked. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I don't know. It's just interesting. The business side of me would love to see kind of some of the behind the curtains of all that, but it's just I'm weird like that.
It's got to be impressive, right? Like there's people that built engine tools for this. There's people that built environments. There's people that had to hire other people to get voices recorded for this. Like the amount of secrecy around this has been absolutely insane on the level of like most games when it comes to, I mean, Ubisoft they got leaks everywhere. I'm trying to think like Nintendo sized NDAs going on here. Like you don't know what Nintendo does unless Nintendo says they're doing it. And this is it's just been an absolutely insane. I wanted to toss out the idea, and if you guys want to go in a different direction, speak up. But one of my overall questions that I think is easy enough to ask without spoiling anything would be, how do you feel about the future of the game when now we have Pirates of the Caribbean IPs accessible in Sea of Thieves? Do you think that this will be a persistent thing? Do you think that Jack Sparrow is going to stick around in the Sea of Thieves world with us? Do you think that IP is going to linger on and we'll get future content updates with a mix of Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves, or is it going to slowly kind of migrate back to just Sea of Thieves?
Without giving away any spoilers, I think it was ended in such a way that it could go either way. I think that there's a nice, neat, tidy enough bow on the end of it to where if they were to call it quits at this point for the pirates, then it would be okay. But again, they left the ability for things to happen in the future if that was chosen to do so. It's probably going to be, from the Disney side part of it, they're probably waiting to see kind of everything shakes out, see whether or not it's in their best interest to continue on or not. That's kind of what I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Let me shake the magic 8-ball here. Outlook looks good. How about that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think just the initial reaction that folks have had in this first week has been very much positive. I mean, there's been some naysayers out there, but the naysayers are always going to be there. You can't have life without a group of screaming about something.
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Mina.
I think that they have left it so that they could potentially carry on a bit with the Jack Sparrow story to a certain extent, but I don't see them doing it constantly. I think they've left it open enough to where they could still use him, but I think they will, for the most part, just stick with their own stuff with maybe a bit of Pirates of the Caribbean thrown in from time to time, possibly.
Do you guys think that that's a positive for the game? Do you think that if they move back to more of a pure Sea of Thieves lore aspect, that newer players will stick with the game if there's not a continuation of Pirates of the Caribbean lore?
If they like it, they will. You know what I mean? I mean, because face it, I mean, there's people that are just going to come back and play the Jack Sparrow stuff and then just leave, because that's what it's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you go play it, and then those people are going to be done anyway. But anybody out of that group of people that's like, well, what's this adventure mode? And then they go and they do it and they fall in love with it or whatever, then they're going to keep playing.
Yeah, I think you're right. There'll be a percentage. And I think this whole thing is a percentage game. You drive in a load of new players, and some of them stay, and some of them leave forever, and some of them come back just for the events. We already see that happening now. But I don't think it's a big motivator for Microsoft or the relationship that Microsoft has with Rare. They want a solid title to add value to their subscription, and they have it in Sea of Thieves.
It's true. The secret that everyone's been keeping has not been Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves, but Sea of Thieves itself being a standout game in Game Pass that people just aren't aware of. Diving into this idea a little bit deeper, I know one of the topics that was brought up that you guys wanted to touch on, and I'm curious how everyone feels about it, is the opportunity for other pirate IPs to be brought into the game. Now that the door has been opened with Disney, they have a lot of other different stories that have been told from a pirate perspective, you know, Treasure Island, Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously, but also things like Peter Pan and Hook. With those IPs, does anyone see those making their way over to Sea of Thieves now that they've seen how well Pirates of the Caribbean is? Or do you think that Pirates of the Caribbean was so perfectly situated for the style and the quality of Sea of Thieves that those two just paired up really well and the others not so much?
I think that pairing between Pirates and Sea of Thieves was almost perfect. So they both worlds exist in the real world with some fantastical elements, right? I think that with most of the other IPs that will be out there, I think that you gotta stretch a little more to kind of just see the relationships. Outside of the fact that there's pirates. I mean, there's plenty of that, but I think it was a great pairing. I think it fit together well without having to do a big reach to try and force something to fit that may not have been as easy with something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's actually a good point, F.A. I like the idea that it not only lives in the Sea of Thieves world, but it lives in the real world because that's what they've told us. So, there are a few franchises, the Monkey Island, possibly, maybe Treasure Island. But I really hope that they measure that out. They don't overdo it. The other thing I would say is it's got to be pirate. I am not interested in seeing Master Chief on a boat somewhere, just kind of weirding things out.
It would definitely be kind of weird.
Pirate game. I bought a pirate game. I want to play a pirate game.
Well, let's take the Robin Williams Hook film, for example. Could you guys see a Rufio type character making their way to Pirates or to Sea of Thieves? Do you think that we could see a Hook costume make their way, or a Hook coming into the world and being here in Sea of Thieves, like them finding their way back? I mean, we already have giant ship clouds.
Yeah, well, and we have the dance, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
We've already got the Bangarang dance, yeah.
I think they would have to bring those characters to us in some way as opposed to us going to them, though. Like you said, Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves exist in this world with a bit of magic. Neverland is someplace completely different.
Mm. Does every tie-in have to lead to a tall tale?
No, I don't think that would.
I don't think so.
I like the hints that they have with stuff. I appreciate that. They have Monkey Island in the game, but the Monkey Island itself is actually part of a tall tale, but it's not the focal point of the tall tale. And I think I appreciate that. More nods.
It's a little Easter egg.
Yeah. And having stuff like that is great for fans because you've probably been playing those games. And if not, then maybe it's a good way to kind of push people into that direction to be like, what is this Guybrush and why does everyone hate him?
And plus, technically, Disney kind of owns the same rights, kind of owns the Monkey Island rights because Monkey Island was made by LucasArts, which was the gaming division of Lucasfilm, which, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and the like. So if they can, you get the point at this point. I want a pirate multiverse. Keyword pirate multiverse, not your Halo, not your Gears of War or Fable. You're pirate. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think there's room for opportunities for that, but I think that it all kind of comes back to what I said last week. I think that Pirates of the Caribbean needed a boost in reputation, and Sea of Thieves needed an IP that was going to grab attention. And I think the melding of those two just happened to be perfect at the right time. Like we were coming from a place where we don't have a really solid Pirates of the Caribbean film. There's a lot of controversy going on right now. And Sea of Thieves needed something that was going to draw that attention. And if there's one character that could do that in a pirate aspect, Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow has personified that fun of being what a character like Duke would be if Duke had a goal. And we'll get to that at some point, I'm sure. But it's one of those things where I think that the way that they've done it has really just been masterfully crafted. They've done a great job of taking the Sea of Thieves lore and blending it well enough into the Pirates of the Caribbean that it does feel like Pirates of the Caribbean is kind of stepping through the threshold and being like the weird, awkward guest that everyone at the tavern is just like, who's that guy? And everyone's like, oh, it doesn't matter. They're here. They have a purpose. It seems like they're going to be able to help us. So why not bring them in? And we're kind of also stepping into an area where we're not as familiar. I think that the use of the Sea of the Damned has been a great way to be like, hey, there is an entire world that you're not familiar with. And as you traverse into this world, you're going to meet characters that you've never met before. And some of those may be familiar outside of the universe of Sea of Thieves, and some of them won't be. Did anyone want to bring up anything about the kind of addition to IP or the IP merging before we move into, say, like Tall Tale 1?
Just the mechanic of them having the portal. During one of the early trailers, they were talking about, one of the guys from Rare made a comment that, like, we can now go anywhere. I really like that. I like the fact that we now have a way for them to expand the game and then still be able to cater to, you know, the bottom denominator of, you know, the Xbox Ones that are still out there, that are still getting support for this game. And, you know, our current map and world is not going to be expanded extensively because those older gaming systems can't support it. So they just by having the mechanic of the server merge, have a way to continue to grow the game. And I really appreciate that. I'm excited about that because there was a period of time I was worried, like, man, this is it. This is all we're going to get. And they may, you know, add a few things here and there. But, you know, big expansions are not going to happen anymore. But now we've got a way to where they're layering these servers on top of one another to where we have the ability to do that. So I really appreciate that and I'm excited to see what the future of that looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
The one thing I will say is I am surprised they've released all 5 Tall Tales in one go. Considering it is for Season 3, we had expected if there was going to be more than one Tall Tale that it would be at least one now, a week or two, at least another one. So they actually spread it out. So getting them all in one go, for those of us who play more or less every day for a long period of time, we've managed to get them done.
Sorry to interrupt. Didn't they say that Season 4 was even bigger than 3 at some point?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure about that.
I think after this update, I think it's going to be a bit hard to overcome like the big crossover that is Pirates of the Caribbean and Sea of Thieves. Because after this update, it's got to be kind of hard to top that unless they get, like, I don't know, One Piece of all things. Don't just quote me on that. Just, you know, just equally crazy.
I don't know about that. I mean, think about it in terms of, okay, kind of like going back to what we were just talking to a minute ago. Okay, so they do the Jack Sparrow thing, right? Get a bunch of people interested in this game, checking this game out, right? And that's great. I think it's cool. Where's my Athena update? Where's all this other stuff? So if Season 3 is the punch in the face wow factor to get a bunch of people interested in the game, and then Season 4 is, hey, look, we fixed Athena, we did this, we did this. Now you hooked everybody. Now you can keep them because the end game's more fun now. There's you know, and you've given something that the people that were already here wanted. That's kind of what I can see it being, quote unquote, bigger in that sense.
Yeah, that's part of the problem that people are worried about, is that Disney would be the only big thing, but Sea of Thieves has a story now combined of its own things, and it can be a big reveal. There are plenty of storylines that are waiting their big reveal, and so I think the new seasons could be something amazing, bigger than this, for those of us who played.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. There's enough story left in the Sea of Thieves line that, I mean, there's still some big things that are out there. And again, without spoiling anything yet, you know, some of those things were hinted at, or we finally got some information about this or that. And I'm to be honest, I am way more excited about what's coming next than even what we have right now. And what we have right now is fantastic, and I love it, and it's amazing. And I can't wait for what's coming after this.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be more tall tales from the actual Sea of Thieves side of it. I mean, some more Disney style, maybe like Treasure Island or, some other sort of stuff could be coming, maybe. I don't know. But personally, I'd love to see more stuff with Belle and, some of the other tales that we've heard about and had hints about from the lore books. There's some of that as tall tales would be fantastic. And also, like, we now seen from this update that we can have our own, like, separate sort of areas that are away from the world that are set in, you could put a story that's in a different time. So you could do stories that are set in the past of the Sea of Thieves as its own individual small story away from the world, and then we could maybe go back and see some of the stories that of Ramses that happened before he turned into an ethereal spirit. Maybe even get the story of why he's got the daggers. The full story of that in his back. I think that would be something good to look forward to. As good as the Disney stuff is, it would be great to see some of that.
One thing that I thought was interesting, and it's a little bit of a spoiler, but nothing that I think will ruin anything for anyone. It's an interesting bit of information about the Sea of Thieves, or the Sea of the Damned, that I don't think many folks may have noticed or latched onto because it's such a quick little intro. But the Sea of the Damned is effectively crafted based on each person's life. And to find out, it's kind of like a lot of people attribute their version of heaven being built up of people and things from their lives. And it's kind of their own version of heaven. The Sea of the Damned seems like it's a very similar thing for pirates. So to think about with Ramses and going and doing tall tales that kind of go back and live through some of the stories that he's had, I think that using the Sea of the Damned for that kind of a tool would be perfect. And a good way to kind of explore that. Talking about the thing, and I'm kind of jumping back a bit, but the idea of the portal for Sea of Thieves, it really does lend itself to the opportunity where we could be traveling to different worlds. We've now seen that there are ways to open up these portals, whether they be through a sea goddess that has control over these, and being able to venture out into different realms, giving us different biomes, things like that. There's going to be questions that come up, being able to server merge to different servers on demand. Being able to or having this kind of split up the community even more. Like what is the Sea of Thieves going to look like if the player base is fragmented across 3 different server types? Because one of them's in the Sea of the Damned, one of them's in an ice biome, one of them's in the regular Sea of Thieves. Have you guys had any kind of fears about things like that happening with the community, or is there been anything that kind of suggests that isn't going to be an issue?
The only thing I worry about is they might add more giant stone archways into the game. The only issue I have with this update is those big stones that just came out of nowhere. I didn't actually think that they'd that they put something that big in.
Mike, I completely agree with you. Is it topography?
Yeah.
Cartography. My cartography skills are completely wrecked right now. Like, I could just glance at things and just tell you exactly where we were at, what was over there. Now we got all these new spires that they all look the same, and it's like I'm having to it's rough. My visual ability to figure out exactly where I'm at and where I'm going is completely shot right now because of that.
It's even worse because I've started now using the pirate's life to spawn into the game, because it means you don't have to wake up on the table looking at the table for 5 seconds each time you load in. So you load in on the pirate's life, you start on the beach next to the new hut with the castaway lady, and already you're in a new location. You've got to look around and figure out where you are, and then there's a big archway in the way as well, so that makes it even worse.
Logan, Hefe's tried to use the big rocks as an excuse for why he's hitting more things.
Look, There's nothing wrong with pirate pinball.
That's true. I played pirate pinball last night. I went out to the second tall tale. There was a really gaudy looking splash tail galleon out there. I took what I could and I threw the wheel to port and raised their anchor and let them go play pirate pinball. And then a skelly galleon spawned on them, which was even more hilarious. And I left with their loot. So yeah, I definitely approve of a pirate pinball anytime you can. By the way, head out to Tall Tale 2 once in a while. You'll find a ship out there that has a whole bunch of supplies and treasure that they thought they'd be right back. Short break. They'd be down, in and out real quick. 2 hours later, they're still working on that Tall Tale. You can make off with all the treasure. It's great.
Yeah, well, you do have to kind of go, and I say this, and I do mean this pun, under the sea, if you get the reference, because, Disney song and that kind of stuff.
So go ahead, F.A.
Just anybody that runs out there to do Tall Tale 2 and they have loot on their ship, they're dumb. You go out there with you go do that with a fresh, no supplies, no nothing ship.
It's true.
We have not had a shortage of people to sink. So the fears of diluting the seas so far has not been a problem.
I'm glad to hear. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
With me and Pad and Mina and Shatter were coming back. We had a bit of fun bringing a couple of those crying chests back, and we managed to keep hold of them, but it was fun. I will say this though, I've definitely become more of a pirate since I've been sailing with Pad. He's a bad influence.
Awesome.
Yes, he is.
Why do I get the blame?
Because it's you. That's why.
It might have something to do with the blood on your shirt.
I don't wear a shirt. Sorry.
I won't blame you, Pat. I was a bloodthirsty pirate before.
I blame you because I sailed with you first.
So I wanted to kind of wrap things up there on that. I think we can all agree that this has been a great opportunity for both IPs to come together. I think they've done a great job masterfully crafting the stories that we've seen. Let's dive into the first one, because I got to be honest, this is probably a good point for us to talk about A Pirate's Life, the first tall tale. There's been a great amount of content that came with this, but we don't want to go too early in and just ruin it for everyone who hasn't had an opportunity. I know Dub Goose has had to bow out because he doesn't want to be spoiled. But that's okay, because he's been supplanted by Chateau Neuf and Xbox Mike. So let's talk about Tall Tale 1, A Pirate's Life. It's our first introduction into the game with Pirates of the Caribbean. You're effectively using the portals to head to the Ferry of the Damned. Was that, like, going in there? I don't know about you, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this. What did you, for anyone that's actually been on the ride, how did it compare to going on the actual Pirates of the Caribbean ride? And for those that haven't, has this been an interesting look into it? Like, because it feels to me very much like what the ride was, with a few caveats.
We're done with Captain Crow on here for this one. I think he was very impressed with it.
Yeah, definitely.
So was Gringar and his brother. They spent 3 hours in the swamp area.
That's so crazy to me that they spent so much time.
Effa and I learned so much about the ride and all the little Easter eggs. It's obvious somebody at Rare, not just Disney, loves the ride. They really went into detail. And I'll say this, it made me want to go back and just spend a day riding the ride, and to finally get Hefe to go to some Disneyland or Disney World for the first time in his life.
Yes, I'm a weird, crazy person that's never been. Not that I don't want to go. I would love to go, but going playing through all these, it's like, okay, I've got to get to Disney World and do this stuff. I've got to do it, because I realize, like, okay, the people who knows what all these little things are, especially sailing with Gringar and just seeing just the level of giddy that he was about things. I'm like, man, I have missed out on something in life here, and I need to rectify that at some point.
Yeah, I'm hoping that everyone has an opportunity. There's something about that ride that feels still like it is very much trapped in the time where it was built, but they've done such a good job of trying to take the creations of Pirates of the Caribbean films and weave those back into the actual ride to bring some context. So in a way, you're taking something that was built in the oh God, when was it? The 70s, the 50s? I can't remember when they built it, but they took.
He said on I think it was the XCast podcast. Mike Chapman was talking about it, and he was saying the actual original recordings were in the 50s, which I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah, I remember it was, and I was trying to struggle there, but yeah, I remember it was done in the 50s. The fact that they used the same microphones to record new lines for the Sea of Thieves Tall Tale that they used back when they recorded the voices for the original ride is insane. I was listening to the Xbox podcast, and Major Nelson was talking with Mike and Joe, and they were talking about how they were able to pull that same audio. The thing that surprised me, I think, the most was the sound of the wind through the tunnels. Walking through the tunnels, you hear this whistle of a wind, and that sound, I don't know how they replicated it, but they actually took the sound from the ride where it is just, you just happen to be in tunnels in that ride. You just happen to be walking through those tunnels. And that sound is the authentic sound of the pressure of the wind from the big cavity that is that ride going through those small little alleyways out into the rest of the park. And to hear that, it was eerie because I wasn't expecting to hear something that was so tuned into what my actual experience at the ride was. I was expecting the Dead Men Tell No Tales. I was totally expecting that. I was totally expecting the ye be warned in the fights and stuff, but the actual atmosphere of the ride was eerily accurate to what I have experienced going through that ride. And I just that actually made it even feel more authentic to me. It was insane, just the attention to detail that they made. Did anyone else have any thoughts on Tall Tales? I mean, we've got some things that I figure we can probably talk about because I'm fairly certain most people have probably jumped into it. Did you guys enjoy that kind of, because it was a pretty long tale. You know, you go from the Sea of the Damned, you go in through the cavern system, you follow this crew throughout the tunnels, and then you eventually get out to an opening. What did you guys think of the before section where you're just kind of going through the little puzzles?
Yeah, it's real nice. It's real nice.
I like they've added new mechanics, like the breaking of the frayed rope.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. Like they've, quality of life wise, they've added some things in with this update that I think will lend to more possibilities in the future. So in that aspect of it, I think it was great.
I have never been on the ride before, having never been to any of the Disney worlds or lands. I really enjoyed the meander through the scenery that they put in. Too much Dead Men Tell No Tales, though, because they do tell tales.
Oh, yeah. Coming across that, I don't think anyone's done a count, but I'd be willing to venture there's at least a couple or like a dozen Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Too many. Way too many.
Did you guys get tripped up on any of the puzzles on how to get through things? There were so many times I was wandering around trying to figure out what to do, and sure enough, it was because I ran by something too fast and didn't think anything of it.
Oh, remember, Hefe and I were guided by Grengar, who had spent 3 hours. The nostalgia of it was good. I'm not going to spend 3 hours in each of those pieces like some. And if I'm brutal about it, I started to fall asleep. It was late, but I wanted some action.
So I'm curious then, how did you all feel about the cursed captain?
Loved it.
Yeah, I was happy to see him at first, but when you're running around trying to solve the puzzles, there was a point where I was like, "Will you just shut up now? Please, just be quiet. Just give me 10 minutes to think."
Secretly, I kind of hope that it's Flameheart Jr.
Yes.
I don't know that that'll happen. Secretly, that's who I want that cursed captain to be.
I think it would be fun.
I'm not convinced he is.
I'm not convinced that he is either because of a later Tall Tale.
I've only done the first 3, so
Gotcha.
holding out.
Yeah, he reappears somewhere else, but I don't know that that'll come to fruition. But I would really like that to be Flameheart Jr. because it's a fun character.
The impression that I get from the books about Flameheart Jr. is that he's quite well educated and stuff, and I know he's a skeleton, but he seems like your average pirate, not, I imagine Flameheart Jr. being a bit more like Pendragon. It's a bit more sort of upper class.
Yeah.
Your upper class pirate.
For sure.
The one thing I will say about the Cursed Captain was that he has definitely got the Pirates of the Caribbean comedy correct.
Oh yeah.
It just oozes out of him.
Yeah, I definitely will attest to that. It's been hilarious to see going around through the puzzles that the escape room style of that tall tale towards the end there as you're kind of working things out, that it is very easy to miss sections of it and be able to proceed. It's ironic that they've put in so much work to add all of these different aspects of you trying to work out the linear path that is these puzzles, to the point where they also said, hey, you know what? If you just want to end it, you can just end it. Just go walk over there and you can finish up the tall tale. But it really does kind of reward the players who want to spend the time in that area and really kind of dig through the minutia of what sections are dedicated to what. Like, each section that they've created has a purpose, even if you don't know what the purpose is right away, but it's still beautifully crafted that you can appreciate the piece on its own. And I think that was the thing that really amazed me, was there's certain rooms in that first tall tale that I walked in there and had no clue what the point of them is, but was just absolutely astonished by the details that they did with the books on the shelves, or the way that the bed is laid out, or the way that an arm moves with a magnifying glass to look closer at a map that's being held in the other hand. Things like that, or the general camaraderie of the music of the shanty of the Yo-Ho Yo-Ho song from Pirates of the Caribbean, sung by ghosts in a tavern that is built out of a shipwreck. It's really, really beautiful to see just how much attention to detail went into there. And then to find out afterwards that all of that is a set piece designed to give atmosphere for this escape room that you're trying to get through, that may or may not have the big payoff that people might expect. But I think that the Easter egg that they put in there was amazing. And I think it was Chenzo in chat that was talking about how they think that the cursed captain is Murray from Monkey Island, and that I think that tracks really well given the Easter egg in there. Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know, if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and the content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show. Did anyone get through that first tall tale and have trouble with it? Were there things that you want to give hints to, if you don't absolutely outright spoil things for them?
That section, that Easter egg, without, I know I wouldn't try not to ruin it for anybody who hasn't done it, who's listening. But I think you've already mentioned, like you say, there's Monkey Island's reference in there, and I was like, those reaction videos when they announced the Pirates of the Caribbean come in, that was me just finding that bit of the game. I was so excited. they're just some of the actual the books and everything were just were really good to read, and I don't want to ruin it for people, but it really was. It made my day.
Professor, you talk about having the cursed captain be a helpful thing for new players. I'm with you on that. I think that the type of humor that's conveyed really kind of sets the stage for players who are going to be jumping into Sea of Thieves post Maiden's Voyage.
Oh man,
go ahead.
Well, Hefe and we watched. I don't know if he was a new player. He acted like a new player. He ended up on one of the tall tales with us, and you could just tell as we were running around, moving statues and doing things. He just kind of stood there and just watched us because he was lost, completely lost with everything around.
So lost my everything. He was like, "Are you all real people?"
Oh man, that's funny. It is interesting to think about how people are going to be jumping into Pirates of the Caribbean or jumping in for Pirates of the Caribbean, but they're going to be jumping into these tall tales, and a lot of these tall tales have mechanics that to veteran pirates will make sense. And I'm talking about simple things like knowing how to light a lantern with your lantern that I don't think people coming into Sea of Thieves for the first time will have a solid grasp on, because there's not really unless you've learned about beacons and lanterns and flames and Fort of the Dams and stuff like that, that mechanic does not seem to make sense. Like, how are you lighting a lantern with a lantern when you're not actually putting a flame to it? And I'm very curious to see how new players are taking on to that in the future Tall Tales, where they're going to have to work out, how do mermaid statues work? How do you work out those kind of things? Very interesting to think about how that's going to get approached, and if there's going to be ways for the game. Because I don't know about you, but using the Cursed Captain's head, there were definitely points where I was very stuck, and him just hanging around yelling all the time. There was actually a point where he actually respawned back at the cage because I had left him for so long that they're like, the Cursed Captain has been returned to the cage. And I was like, oh man, I guess if there was any other way to point out, like, hey, you might want to use this guy as you walk around, this is a good indicator. But I didn't see that with any of the other Tall Tales.
As long as he doesn't become Sea of Thieves Clippy.
That's kind of what he is, isn't he? Now that you think about it. Did you want to open a word processor? I can help you out with that. It's like, no, I get it. I know what to do. I cut the thing, get it? He's like, all right. But I've seen other people cut things, and it wasn't quite that bad. I absolutely love that. And Dougie, poor Dougie. Oh.
Dougie was great. So, same guy that voiced Suds. Is it the same guy that voiced Dougie? It just, I don't know. Some of the intonation sounded the same to me, but I love Dougie, and it was hilarious. And I laughed out loud multiple times on that first Tall Tale. It was great.
Yeah, Dougie was amazing. And I never put the two together, but I would not be surprised if Suds is also the same one that voiced Dougie. Just as general, he felt like Sea of Thieves' Eeyore, and I hope he comes back.
Absolutely, as he's counting all of his failures in alphabetical order.
There was a small Easter egg in the game that was related to Captain Bones, which was the skeleton that they bought for Sea of Thieves and then used as a community prop for when they wanted to give out teases about the game back when the game was still being crafted. Did anyone else catch the Captain Bones reference and have any excitement to realize that Captain Bones was now canonically in Sea of Thieves as opposed to just having a sword or being related through a Battletoads game?
Is that the bit where he is drinking and he can't handle his drink?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if anyone knows, but if you go to the Tall Tale, or if you go to the Twitter handle for Captain Bones and you dig through the tweets, you'll see one of the big things that was tweeted about with Captain Bones was actually him at a club or bar having drinks and getting photos with Phil Spencer, with Major Nelson, with part of the crew from the actual Rare team. and him just like getting completely wasted and throwing up in the toilet, and then getting back to the hotel room, and they're dragging around this skeleton prop around an E3 event, pretending to get him drunk. So for me, the reference was amazing. Mike, when you talk about how you were excited about the Easter egg for Monkey's Island, that's how I felt about Captain Bones, and how they were talking about how he can't hold his liquor. Because I'm like, I remember going back and digging through those tweets and seeing that and being like, oh my God, he really can't hold his own liquor.
I do remember those, yeah, with his head in the toilet and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah.
It's almost like a stag do, but with all of the executives from Xbox.
It really is. It's great. I had a really good time with that. We got a new mechanic too with that Tall Tale, and I'm curious what you all thought of it. The lighthouse and the beacon, and having the two wheels to turn it and actually light the brazier and to light the other beacons. What did you guys think of that? How about you, Mina?
I thought it was really cool. We had two of us, one doing the side to side and one doing the up and down to try and find them. And then somebody else looking to try and find them and telling us which way to go. I thought it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was a nice touch.
It didn't quite give you a really good heads up on where you were supposed to shine it. And the controls felt backwards to me.
They were.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Pad, you had something that you wanted to talk about with regards to Tall Tale in general?
It's not just this Tall Tale, but it goes for all of them, especially 2 and 4. It's the fact that if you're doing it with a crew, stay together as much as possible. Don't let anybody get too far ahead. We had one of our members get a little bit too far ahead. So we missed that bit that you are vindicated on. You missed that because it had already done it.
Oh man, yeah, I've seen a couple streams where folks are playing and someone gets a little too far ahead, and the rest are trapped outside the actual room that they're supposed to be in, and they're like yelling at him. And it felt like, I'll be honest, you know what it feels like? It feels like a Goonies moment where Chunk is like doing something wrong, or Mouth is like hitting something, and they're like, how could you do that? And it's like, I didn't mean to do that. They're like, yeah, but you did it. And it's like, oh yeah, that moments like that, I was just like, yep, that is a Goonies moment for sure. Getting into the last bit of the Tall Tale one, I'm very curious. We finally meet Jack Sparrow. We finally go down into the Ferry of the Damned. How long did it take for everyone to either A, realize that you could just run around on the top of the Sea of the Damned, or the Ferry of the Damned? Or how long did it take you to work out, like, I need to light these things to get down in there to open up the doorways and stuff? Because I'll be honest, I hung out for a good long while on the back of that boat waiting for the next thing to happen, only to realize that I just need to go down and actually like open up the bottom.
Again, we had one person go ahead and do it. It's like, what did you do? Oh, I just held up my lantern. Okay. Did I miss anything? No, it just exploded. It's fine.
Well, in the trailer, it showed that the grate over the Well of Fate's exploding. So I knew that had to happen. So
did I mention any names?
Sorry, it was me. I did it.
It was him. It was Hefe.
Wow, Hefe.
Hefe, you didn't tell me that.
Be diplomatic.
He got on to me for interrupting the other thing. You didn't tell me you had done it.
It was okay. Like the ferryman was finished talking for the most part.
Too funny. So, what did you guys think of the first fight?
Confession is good for the soul.
Confession is good for the soul.
Yes, it is.
So the fight between you and Davy Jones, a lot of us were wondering how we were going to be fighting Davy Jones. It felt like it was definitely going to be a scripted fight. Was that a pretty good introduction to the Dutchman?
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Seeing it come out of the water was pretty impressive. I know we've seen other ships come out of the water like that, but just those teeth on the front, just emerging out of the water, it's just like, oh, here he comes.
Yeah,
it was really well done.
Yeah, the Dutchman kind of really inspired the whole the skeleton ships coming out of the water kind of deal. So nice to know. And people will be like, wait a minute, doesn't the skeleton ships do that kind of thing? For those who haven't seen the movies kind of thing. But, Who hasn't at this point?
It's true.
Again, it was another tie-in to what Sea of Thieves already was. That first time, I remember us as a crew experiencing the skelly ships popping up out of the water like that. It was one of those events where everybody on the boat was like, oh, look at that. And, everybody rushes to the side to watch. And in our minds, I know that scene from the Pirates of the Caribbean is what was playing in all of our heads. And so it felt like, in some ways, the Pirates of the Caribbean tie-in, it had already happened. And it was just gratifying to see.
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely loved it. I was okay with it being a scripted event. I thought they did a really good job of giving you some action at the end there. After a very long tall tale, I will say that tall tale, very large environment, a lot going on in that. And it's hard to really gauge how far you're traveling because it feels like you're sailing forever, especially if you don't do anything. And to think about the fact that it's like that is an entire scripted event from beginning to end. You go into the portal, you pop out, and you are now into this huge environment all on its own that is its own tall tale. And this, you see this in later tall tales too, where it just feels like you're really traversing a huge amount of area and you don't have to worry about when am I going to run into adventure mode because it is a completely sealed off experience. So I'm really, really happy to see that. But I was really happy to see just in general, the new creatures, having them pop up on the ship, having the dialogue between the ferryman and Jack, and having Jack get the sword by way of the ferryman throwing it down into the deck and then having Jack run over and pick it up. It was nice to see the ferryman so animated and yet still so shackled to his role. It's like I can't think of the character's name, but in God of War there's the one character who's the all-knowing character, and you basically, he's like trapped in a tree and you have to get him to join you in a way that is really gruesome. Mimir
from
that's it. Yeah. That's how I felt with the ferryman. It's like you can tell he knows exactly what he wants to happen, but he can't do anything about it. So he's stuck at the helm the whole time. He has to helm the ferryman, and it's up to Jack to really help out in that instance. So it's really, really cool moment to have that whole thing kind of work through its paces as you're kind of going along that step. Was there anything else that you guys were impressed by with the first tall tale that you wanted to bring up?
It's not so much. It's not impressed. I was a bit frustrated with was at the end of that. What's going on at the front of the ship went on for far too long.
What a great that. It felt really drawn out.
And he's dead. Why is it taking you so long?
Yeah, it would have been better if it went by a little faster.
So trim it up a little bit. Although I will say,
that's just me nitpicking again.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, honestly, I'm with you in that instance. It was nice to get a chance to attack like the Dutchman and, go down. But at some point, it didn't feel like anything that I did was actually impacting what was happening. It felt like everything was going along its paces. There was a timer. As soon as the timer ticked down, it would swap sides, and there wasn't really any major agency with it. It was more me participating in the fun that is this ride, and eventually the ride will end, and we're just waiting to get to that point.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I say, I haven't been on the ride, but it does feel that you're on for the ride, not actually there to participate. Whilst you have the opportunity to participate, you don't have to. And you did actually try not participating, and it just went on for so long. Just fired a few shots and sped it along a bit.
I have to say, I think there's now a lot of people over here. Oh, well, a lot of people outside of America now that are looking at your Disneyland as a possible future holiday resort, to go to, because I've always wanted to go, but the cost is, the flights alone are expensive, let alone the hotel and everything else. But I now would really like to go there and go on that ride.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties back to the idea of why this partnership works so well. There is an actionable thing that happens at the end of these tall tales, and that is, if you've never been to Disneyland, if you've never been to Disney World and you wanted to go play through these rides, this was a fun incentive for you to be like, I wonder if that's even possible now. And now with things kind of lightening up restrictions kind of lifting in the United States, it's a lot easier for folks to come visit. Or even like Mina mentions in chat that there's Disney Paris, which I think they also have that ride. So there's definitely a possibility for people to make these trips. It would be amazing if there was a way to set up a Sea of Thieves event for Pirates of the Caribbean at like Disney World. I think it would be absolutely insane if Rare could work out a special week where they said like, hey, you know, this week in 2022, there's going to be a Sea of Thieves fest at Disney World.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
and
don't do that. Don't do this. Don't give them ideas. Seriously, because there's going to be a whole lot of us sitting there going, well, that's me screwed. I'm not...
I think I prefer like a Sea of Thieves show made by the people at Disney. You know, just putting it out there. Like, help we give them that idea. And I see that thing you put on Big Pad about the Sea of Thieves series on Disney Plus. Good idea.
Yeah. Actually,
I'm going to blame all you guys for if this comes true.
It'd be a lot of money, but it would be so worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I did want to ask one quick question before I dive into spoilers, because it would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the spoilers that I was happy about. But the last question that I wanted to ask you guys to get your feelings on is, do you think that Sea of Thieves will cross over to the Pirates of the Caribbean lore? Like, say they make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and we know that it takes place post Sea of Thieves integration. Do you guys think that we'll start seeing characters from Sea of Thieves introduced into Pirates of the Caribbean lore?
There is an opening at the final scene of The Last Tall Tale that could possibly lend in that direction.
The opportunity's there.
Yeah, it's there for sure. Without giving away spoilers.
Yeah, I think that just in general, like we don't know what the next Pirates of the Caribbean film is, but I mean, effectively, if Disney wanted to, they could really tie it in and say, you know, Jack has been through everything. You know, he's gotten the Pearl, he's dealt with Davy Jones, he's dealt with mermaids and the Fountain of Youth, he's dealt with Poseidon's Trident. You know, there's so many places for Jack to go. Sea of Thieves could be the next place that the Pirates of the Caribbean films go to. It's in the same area. It's in the same world. I would be very interested to see what could happen if Pirates of the Caribbean took the Black Pearl to the Sea of Thieves and passed through this route.
I know most of the heavy hitter movie stars have a contractual arrangement where they can only do so many things in a franchise. And so if they wanted to really open things up, an animated series a la Bad Batch might be the way around that.
Would you rather see an animated or a live action?
I'm just not sure how much more Johnny Depp contractually can act in a series. You know, like the Iron Man series can't have Robert Downey Jr. anymore. Contractually, he's not allowed to do anymore. Is my understanding.
Interesting.
Yeah, plus I think it will also be a bit truthful to the Sea of Thieves art style as well if it was animated. So, you know, something a little bit more to tie into the game as well.
I much prefer the sort of real life sort of filming than the animated stuff. But even I think that an animated one would fit quite well.
Very cool.
Thing is, so they're not going to bring back Johnny Depp, though, are they? With all his legal problems and allegations, etc. So that, in terms of film being made, it's not going to happen. It would have to be animated.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the live stuff now and not. They could make reference to Jack Sparrow, but they don't have to bring him in. You know what I mean? Or they could just do a cameo where he's just in, you know, maybe 1 or 2 episodes and then he's gone again. But give a whole.
It's Jack Sparrow, though, wasn't it?
It is, but then Star Wars was always about Luke Skywalker.
But one of the they did a series in the Pirates of the Caribbean without, and it really wasn't that good.
Yeah,
I think it comes down to
find that next big person, haven't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to story. And I think that's one thing that Sea of Thieves has going for it more than Pirates of the Caribbean does. I think Pirates of the Caribbean has gotten to that escalation point where it, like, how do you top a trident that breaks all curses on the seas? And I think the way you do it is you travel to a different land. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to have someone who looks and sounds like Jack Sparrow talking in a tavern in a corner drunkenly about someplace that he had been, and having that inspire a ragtag crew of pirates saying, like, you know, that old guy over there can't do it. I bet we could probably find our way through this shroud, and have that take the Pirates of the Caribbean story to Sea of Thieves and give you a new crew that allows you to really kind of, like, you still kind of do the thing that they should have done with episode 7, where they are taking the old Star Wars people and they hand the torch to the new Star Wars people, but then actually let them take the torch and not just carry them throughout the rest of the films.
I think it was actually in the Discord chat that we were talking about whether or not you do it with Athena's Fortune. Actually tell the story of Ramsey and Lorena.
That would be amazing.
Their crews.
I'd love to see that. I would love to see their crew and have it be tied in that way. Well, shall we take the next 15 minutes to dive into spoilers?
Yeah, let's go. We waited long enough for you to brag about it.
All right. Well, I guess this is a good kind of warning, Klaxon. If you've been listening this long, or if you're in the actual call here, we're going to be talking spoilers for the next 15 minutes. It'll probably be the thing that rounds out the episode. I want to make sure that if anyone hasn't played through all of the Tall Tales, that you exit now. This should be the end of the episode. Don't worry about the outro and stuff. It's going to be pretty on par for what usually happens with the podcast. But probably from now to the end of the episode, for the next 15 minutes, we're going to dive into spoilers for the last 4 Tall Tales and some theories around that. But realistically, we're going to be talking about, or I'm going to be talking about, the 4th one. I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on some of the other ones. So if anyone wants to leave the call because they don't want to be spoiled, I don't hold it against you. I respect it 100%. And if you've been listening this long and you don't want to get spoiled, now's a good jumping off point until you are finished up with the Tall Tales and want to understand why I'm excited to jump into this. All right.
I think before you do, I think I will say goodbye, because I'm only up to the 3rd one, and I'm trying to go through it with my best mate, and we're doing it at his pace as and when he can get on. So I'm gonna cut out here and say thank you very much for having me,
Mike. It's been a pleasure as always. I appreciate you dropping in and coming in and dropping some awesome love for Monkey Island. I'm glad someone was here to do it.
There's always love for Monkey Island with me. That actually made me go off and play Curse of the Monkey Islands. After I'd done that, I went through Curse of the Monkey Islands again. Saw Murray.
Oh, that's great.
It's so good. It's still great. I would love them to remaster that game and bring it to consoles and PC as a remaster as well. But thank you anyway, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If anyone else wants to bow out, feel free as well too. No hard feelings at all. I totally understand. I think with that, let's go ahead and jump into the next 15 minutes, and we'll see. I personally I figure I'll start it off. Going into this series of Tall Tales, I didn't really know what to expect. I've been very surprised by what I found, and I've been very happy with what I found. But some of the people that got ahead of me told me that I was going to be very happy with some of the Tall Tales later on. And getting into 4 with the Brethren Court, I was anticipating seeing some characters from Sea of Thieves that we hadn't seen in a while. I totally expected to have that. I was genuinely enthralled by that end Brethren Court scene with the Gold Hoarder, Wanda, the Warsmith, Davy Jones, and Duke, the Dark Lord. And I have to say, I cannot believe that Rare actually managed to bring in Duke and do the thing that I've been saying for years, for literally years, ever since the Mermaid Statue event came out in July of 2018. I have been saying that this is weird that we're destroying mermaid statues, that it doesn't make sense, and that it really should be something we're questioning. Why are we destroying these statues? What's the purpose? And given some of the things in Tall Tale 2, I full-heartedly believe that we were doing the wrong thing and didn't know it. and that I am I am very much happy to see that Duke is being brought out and shown that he is actually the Dark Lord that I've been saying he is. And I'm curious, for those of you that have played through it, if you believe the journal. There's a little journal, and I've talked to a couple devs. There's a little journal there that says that he was ousted by his kin and heard the siren song and brought into this world. I don't believe that for a second. That book was written by Wanda the Warsmith. I don't believe that for a second. I think that Duke has been plotting this stuff for a while. He's been stirring the pot. He's been kicking the hornet's nest. Whatever you want to say, he's been doing all these things for so long, and no one has really, like, everyone seems very content with what Duke gives us. He gives us cosmetics, he gives us doubloons, he gives us titles, and everyone's happy with it. But every time he's disappeared, he's come back worse for wear. And I think that's because he's been going to his master. And every time he goes to his master is disappointed with where he is in his progress. We've seen him hiding behind pillar posts. We've seen him come back beaten, and all under the guise of Stitcher Jim. And I don't think Stitcher Jim is necessarily the biggest bad that we need to be worried about. And it was very curious to me that he wasn't present at that court, because there were 5 chairs and he was not at any of those 5 chairs. Now, I don't know if the Siren Queen was intended to be there as well, but was defeated early on, or if Stitcher Jim is the captain. But I'll let you guys jump in here. I'm very excited to see that Duke the Dark Lord is finally ousted for the evil lord that he is. I've been saying it for years. I'm so excited. Thank you, Rare, for doing this, for making this one podcaster's dream come true, and that the craziness that I've been spouting on Twitter and on the podcast. I went back and I tried to listen. I tried to find out what the earliest episode was that I wanted to that I mentioned Duke the Dark Lord. I got to episode 29 and I found out that was about the earliest that I had started calling Duke the Dark Lord. So 29 episodes into the podcast, within the first year, almost the first half of the year, when Mermaid Curses came out, I had been saying that Duke is a Dark Lord, and it's so gratifying for everyone. I heard that Jeff from Golden Sands blog post cried when he saw that Duke was on the table because he loves Duke so much. No, that's Stockholm syndrome.
Do you feel better now? I finally been able to say out loud for the world to hear.
It feels so nice to be right. It feels so nice to be right about something that you've been harping on for so long.
Yeah, for years, a long time.
The funny thing is that El Jefe, when we'd finished the Tall Tale, we came back up and he said, so everybody's feelings, now that we know what we're doing with these with these mermaid statues, what are we going to do with them? I said, we're still going to kill them because I want my 1,000 for a blue gem, 1,500 for a green, I want my 2,000 for a red.
Oh,
we be pirates. We have no remorse.
It's about the gold, pirates, not the glory.
Oh my God. So what did you guys think? I'll be honest. I had a little info about some of this. I'd known about the mermaid statues for a while because I'd been bugging. 3 years of bugging devs about this. Some of them let slip some of the information about what these statues were. But finding out that they're pirates, finding out that they are souls trapped in these statues, and we have been murdering these statues for years.
They're not trapped anymore, are they?
No, they're not trapped anymore, and they've got me through Hunter's Call. They have served a good purpose.
100%. Thank you for your sacrifice, pirates.
Breaking these statues are freeing their souls, and it's giving us gold, as Venus says.
It's weird because I don't see any soul come out of that statue.
It's the glowy bit when it explodes.
You're too busy looking at the blue gem that you've just got.
Mm-hmm.
Logan, there is that little joy I feel for getting Hunter's Call rep is the spirit. It's giving me joy.
Is that your guardian angel, this little gemstone helping you get through Hunter's Call? That's Bill from Beyond. You
can hear it every time. Every time you turn one in. Yeah.
Oh, man. So, I mean, does it seem strange to me that that we're like the sirens? Okay, so I don't know if you guys were paying as close attention to the Tall Tale 2 as I was, but the Siren Queen is literally saying that they lost their song. They were betrayed by their kin and their songs stopped singing. And we know that the souls in these mermaid statues, I won't say that we know. I am guessing that the souls that are in these statues are the souls of the merfolk that were put in there, and that the song that they sing, that sound that we hear when we're sailing over them and we're like, oh, check and see if it's a red one, and then we hit the anchor and come down, that song is being stopped, and that they can't get life from the song being stopped. We have been preventing the merfolk this whole time by destroying these statues. And the merfolk that betray, or the kin that betrayed them, is in fact the ones that are helping us. Well, okay, not in fact. Stipulation. There's caveats to this. What I've worked out is that the merfolk that are helping us, the derpy merfolk that are helping us get back to our ships from time to time, that never seem to be appearing, they're the ones that were actually like ousting their kin and preventing them. And us destroying the mermaid statues are stopping the song that gives the merfolk their power to be able to do that they've lost their memory as a result. It's insane to me that all the things that we've been doing are all things that are countering, like what reasons why we haven't had merfolk is because of all the stuff that we've been doing in the game. And it's our fault that we haven't had merfolk in the game up until this point.
Mm-hmm. I thought that she had said I thought that she had said somewhere that she was going to turn us into statues and we would sing for her forever.
Yes, yeah, she had full intentions of trapping our souls into the statues to help continue powering the rest of these merfolk.
Well, I do like a fish sandwich.
Were you guys happy with the Kraken? What do you guys think of the Kraken fight?
Again, I think it was partly scripted.
Yeah.
I don't know how much foot you actually have to put in for actually shooting it to get it to move away.
Visually, it was good to see, finally see a face.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanic in the fight, those first couple tales really do feel like you're kind of on rails and more in a ride than you are necessarily interacting in a game as much. But it was worth going on the ride. That was one of the things I wanted to see.
I think that's I think that sentiment there at the end kind of embodies everything that I've wanted from Sea of Thieves. I was talking to one of the devs and I told them that the feelings that I get from these tall tales finally fill in the missing pieces of that original E3 trailer, that we finally got to see the Kraken. We finally got to see the Kraken body. It was swimming around. It was a really nice experience. It felt scary at times the first time through when you would see like a giant tentacle like slamming against one of the doorways that was closed off. It felt cool seeing it swim by from time to time, or it starts shaking things. It felt amazing to see the face and just how big it is compared to the actual ship, and makes me feel like that fight would be exceptionally different in Adventure if you had these slap mechanics or these kind of inky blood effects out in the real world, and how much more threatening the Kraken would be as if you actually had the body and the head kind of out in the water as you were actually dealing with it. And one thing that we didn't really get a chance to talk about was the fact that the rest of the world has actually been expanded. The shroud is receded and all of the areas are kind of opened up, which is crazy to me, because I look at like the Crystal Fortress and the undersea area. All of that was added to Adventure, and all of that is in the game at all times. And it's crazy to me that, you think about like, well, if they could do that, how come they can't do a Kraken head in Adventure, especially now that they have it all modeled out?
I did feel worse shooting a Kraken in the face than I did breaking statues. So it might make it harder for me to shoot the Kraken.
Well, it's got those big silly eyes. It's got the big lovable doe eyes.
It looks much cuter than a mermaid statue, that's for sure.
Were you originally attracted to the mermaid statues, but now you've seen? Is it that meme of the guy looking at the girl next to his girlfriend, and the mermaid statue is the one sitting next to you? Is that what you're getting at?
Not at all. I have no problems killing mermaid statues still because I like my gold.
Oh yeah, the pirates, you guys. Take what you can and give nothing back, right?
That's right. I don't want to go too far past it, Logan. You know, while you did call it the Dark Lord, you also said, I believe, I should have gotten the exact quote, that something along the lines that Duke was a waste and a useless character. Still hanging on to that?
That's... Now that they've, I mean, it's bittersweet, isn't it? I mean, they gave me the thing that I wanted, but as a result, they had to make him into something worthwhile. So, while I got vindication for Duke being a Dark Lord, they kind of had to make him into a Dark Lord for me, for him to be worth keeping around. I know that we'd been talking. You guys aren't too happy with the voices. Give me some feelings about that. You know, like Duke doesn't have a voice that you're happy with, and you miss the old Duke voice.
I do miss it, and I've come up with a theory. I'm not sure that's Duke's been possessed by this wimpy voiced new character. Maybe that's how we get it by. Duke isn't really the Dark Lord; he's been possessed.
It's an interesting prospect. I mean,
but Duke's isn't the only voice that just doesn't sit right.
It doesn't match.
No, you have this, but the thing is, you have this Pirate of the Caribbean, Davy Jones. He 99% of the time, he doesn't sound like Davy Jones.
There's only one Bill Nye. They can't. It's not exactly like, passing around or something like that. Being passed around like a patty cake or something like that.
Find somebody who sounds like him, though.
They did do a good job with Jack.
They managed to do it with Jack Sparrow.
See, it was Jeffrey Rush, right? That's the actor that played. Bill
Nye was Davy Jones.
Bill Nye was Davy Jones.
That's right.
So, what did you guys think of Barbossa then?
It felt the Cursed Captain sounded more like Barbossa.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the Cursed Captain sounded more like Barbossa, to be honest. I think when we first saw the trailer, it was like many people were making the assumption that, is that Barbossa? He looks a little different than his movie counterpart, but CFE-ified. But yeah, it's really fooled us all.
If you get your spyglass out and watch him on the boat as he's attacking the town, they've got the movements down from the ride.
Yeah, they
as
really
much
did.
as an animatronic can do.
Yeah, the parody between what it looks like in the ride and what it looks like in the Tall Tale is exceptional. Very, very impressed with it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of creeping out on that 15 minutes. I don't want to keep you all too much longer. We've been going for about a little over an hour and a half. Was there anything else you guys wanted to jump onto while we're in the spoiler section, or are you guys pretty satisfied with where we're at?
I am excited that they finally talked about the captain, and I think he's kind of the big bad that's kind of been lurking behind everything all this time that we haven't really met yet, and I'm really excited to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Having the Gold Hoarder back was an exceptional moment for me. I was very excited to see him come back and see like him kind of molted, I think is what the word was.
Yeah, and I believe one of Ramsey's quotes, like at the end of the ninth original Tall Tales, was "It's never that easy to scrub away the stain that greed leaves behind," which I guess you can now say was a hint that the Gold Holder wasn't gonna be forever dead. Because, as proven by the CFEs, nothing stays dead for long.
True. And we also continue to give gold to the Gold Hoarders. And I imagine, much like us destroying mermaid statues because we want the gold, chances are we probably won't be rid of the Siren Queen forever as well, too. Although I am curious who the Siren King is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a new one for me.
What is dead never dies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Game of Thrones. All right.
The only thing I'd add for Tall Tale 5 is that before you go and do it, the merchant emissary. Sit down.
Ah, yeah, true. Because you get cranes from defeating the ghost ships.
I think we ended up with about 25 of them after Prof had gone round in his rowboat.
Oh, God.
And I probably missed 10 to 15 because they sank before I could get to them.
The irony of that Tall Tale being that Jack sits on the thing is like, you might want to stock up a bit before we head out. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure we didn't have to.
No, we don't. We need 10 cannonballs to start. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely
Although-
need to play through that. Sorry, Professor.
That is a live event, right?
Yes, I don't think that's instanced in any way. I think you can head out.
We need to look for that thing anytime we need supplies.
It's in the world, but does it show up for everybody else with the cloud when somebody starts it, or is it just the people that started it that can see it?
So with Tall Tale 2, the beacon shown whether you're running the Tall Tale or not, because once we were done with that Tall Tale, we went off to go do something else, and then we noticed a little bit later that beacon was lit again. So my guess is that we'll see it. Just like you would if it was the Ferry of the Damned, or not Ferry of the Damned, Fort of the Damned.
Okay.
I don't know for sure because I haven't seen it. We hadn't tested that, but I would think that if it's in the real world, you're going to see it.
I'm going to look for it because I'm not going to go ruin someone's day, but I will steal a bunch of those supplies.
Well, that's the interesting thing is I mean, people had been running the Tall Tales all week. I've never seen the Davy Jones cloud outside of when I did it.
No, see, I don't think I have either.
I think it's a player activated kind of word event because you're going to you see it, you do it. Excuse me. You get the idea.
How many people have gotten to that tale yet, though? I mean, we're a bunch of sweaty tryhards, I think.
Less than 100,000, I assume.
Or more people have completed it than they have one of the original Tall Tales.
Yeah, true.
It has been interesting to see the completion rate for this set of Tall Tales compared to the original ones. It's definitely apparent to me that there's a lot of people coming into Sea of Thieves for the first time and jumping into these to come check out Jack Sparrow.
So that last scene on the boat where Rose and her lover are made flesh again was kind of cool. And that they choose to go with Jack tells me there could be more tie-ins moving forward. I did find it interesting that two of those chose to stay ephemeral and mentioned they had work to do as well, but in their form.
You're right. Very telling that Pendragon and Eli Slate from the Morningstar crew,
yes,
both decided to stick around in the Sea of Thieves. And that the treasure, I still have questions. Who is that treasure for? Because Jack keeps mentioning how he's kept a promise for her, but who is her?
Yeah, who is her? Yeah, so they definitely have left it to where they could definitely expand upon it if it's financially beneficial to do so. So one way or the other, whether they just leave it as is, it ended well enough, but it definitely could do more.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I did want to bring up a quick little note, being that this is the first week of the Pirate's Life update. The completion for a Pirate's Life Tall Tale is at 4.94% unlocked for gamers, which is surprisingly close to the total number of pirate legends in Sea of Thieves. So there's been quite a bit, and just as a bit of a comparison, the Shroudbreaker is at 13.84% completion. So it's not quite as high as like the original Shroudbreaker, but pretty good track record for it being the first week.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Think about, Hefe, how few people can chase us into the Shrouds of Gold, knowing those numbers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not surprised we have not seen Davy Jones's cloud very often yet.
Well, we're definitely it's still pretty low. Like if we're looking at just under 5% completion for the first Tall Tale, the Lords of the Sea, which is the last one, that's only at 0.63%. So definitely a smaller number for the completion for that. Likewise, the Shores of Gold Tall Tale, I just had it. That one is only at, oh no, is that one? Yeah, no, that's all the commendations for it. That's not actually the completion. I just had the completion. 2.69% of gamers have unlocked the Shores of Gold Tall Tale. So
yeah, very interesting.
Now, it all comes at the caveat that this is literally people who've installed the game and booted it are considered in the gamer pool for completing this. So a fair portion of players have downloaded the game, started it, but never actually done anything beyond the maiden voyage. In fact, I think the maiden voyage might be the better pool of players to see, like with new pirates, just how many of them have actually proceeded beyond the actual tutorial and given us an idea of like just how many people are making it through that eventual or that first portion of the game. So I'm trying to find that. It looks like 25% of gamers who've played the game have completed the maiden voyage.
I wonder how many of like those of us original players from the first 2 years didn't have to do the maiden voyage because it didn't exist. Never went back and did it.
Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah, because a lot of players who have played aren't forced to do it. It's been optional, and a lot of new players are forced to do it. So
Yeah.
I would be curious to understand that too.
There's so many stats that could tell us so many things,
Yeah,
but they hide them or they make them difficult to find and understand.
yeah. Knowing that 5% of players have completed this tall tale is cool, but what is the metric that we're working off of, and how many of those people are going to stick around? Was there anything else you guys wanted to go on to, or we're pushing a little bit past that 15 minutes, and I don't want folks to be lied to too much. But was there anything else that you guys wanted to grab onto, or did you want to put it on hold for our next convening of the Gold Hoarders?
I'm good.
So I think we've revealed enough to start with.
Yeah, I think we said enough.
Well, as always, I appreciate the hell out of you guys all coming together to not only support the podcast, but just to have these conversations. I love getting a chance to chat with you, because I genuinely don't get to sail with you all that much. And as unfortunate as it is, I look forward to these end of the month episodes where we can all kind of sit down and have a good conversation about Sea of Thieves. And it's really interesting to hear your thoughts on how things are going, because they're way different than what I think sometimes. But thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Does anyone have any shout outs that they wanted to do, or any place that they wanted to send folks if they plan on doing any kind of streaming or content creation that you want people to go check out? FA?
No, I'm still waiting on them to lay fiber in my neighborhood so that I can have the bandwidth to adequately do both. So no.
Okay.
I'm just around in the Discord. Come find me. I'm there.
Awesome. Mina, I know you're always posting fun photos in the real life section of the Discord. Is there anything you've seen recently that you want to share or point people towards?
No. I'm just about on Discord and sometimes Twitter. Occasionally you might see me in other people's streams, but I don't have the bandwidth to stream myself.
Alrighty. Regis, anything you got going on you want to share with folks?
No chapter of my fanfic this time because it's just been the update kind of distracted me, to be honest. And I'm usually playing CFEs in Australian times because that's the only time I can play. To be honest, because I am living in Australia. So if anyone wants to play in those ridiculous hours, just I'm always available for somebody to sail with.
True. We don't have quite as many Australian pirates in the Discord as we do British for the most part, or American for that matter. Professor,
welcome to my world.
Professor, was there any place you wanted to send folks, or anything you want them to go check out?
At Professor_TN on Twitter, and also keep hold of your treasure. You'll see me on the seas with my Black Rose crew.
Just keep it nice and close for you. Make sure. Should they just toss it overboard because this is the friend event starting at the beginning of the month?
You get friend credit for taking a keg onto another boat.
That's nice.
Just a helpful hint.
That's a good.
Yeah, and accidents happen, and things go boom.
You can never tell. Storms come out of nowhere all the time. Big Bad Pad
Gifts.
Was there any place you wanted to send folks?
I am Spudhead Paddy over on Twitch. I tend to stream occasionally, but when I do, it's like for 4 or 5 hours at a time. So there's plenty of stuff to go and look at the moment.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining. We will be joining for another community episode at the end of July. I don't have the dates in front of me, but it will definitely be the 4th episode in July. And then if anyone has any questions, comments, feedback, things like that, just head over to the Keelhauled Discord. You can find all of our Gold Hoarder members in there. where you can chat with them about thoughts, fan theories, things like that you want to in our Tavern Talk experience. And Pirates, with that, thank you, I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
In a world where solid-state electronics and vacuum tubes are still meta, people never stop loving atomic-powered everything. A chosen 500 stepped inside a subterranean vault to be spared the nuclear horror of the inevitable Great War. 25 years later, they emerge after the fallout settles to retake Appalachia. Among them, two former rivals whose blood feud will tear West Virginia apart in their epic struggle for survival. Chad, a vault bro who has a strength of 15, an intelligence of 2, and is a complete wasteland dickhead. Simon, a complicated anti-hero who chooses light and hope, but accidentally becomes a cannibal and wakes up naked and afraid with a Scorch Beast queen after a date goes terribly wrong. What? I mean, it's a wild wasteland, right? This dark humor radio drama will have you driving off the road and crawling out from under the fallout. 2 men, 1 wasteland, and so many nukes. Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, rated R, now streaming on your holotape player podcasty thing.
Are you into the cyberpunk tabletop games or excited for Cyberpunk 2077? Are you looking to brush up on the lore, stay up on all the latest news, and talk about the game when it comes out? Check out the Cyberpunk Lorecast, a show from Robots Radio with me, your host, Robots. We'll go over all the details you need to know about the world, characters, and story of Cyberpunk. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.